Hello and welcome to this video's content accurately described by this video's title. In this video, you're going to learn a super beginner-friendly and easy way to set up scalable real-time features for your application, meaning your app will be able to handle a lot of concurrent connections at the same time. These real-time features are super beginner-friendly, scale super well, and let me show you how you can implement them in your app. Hey, so let's take a look at how to implement real-time features into your serverless apps that scale super well. This doesn't have to be serverless, by the way. This can be a regular Node.js application, but the important thing is it can also work on serverless, and it works really well with serverless Next.js API routes. And the main advantage you have in that case is that you do not need to manage Node.js yourself. You don't need to worry about scaling, because we're going to use a service for that. Okay, so this is the architecture, right? We have the client, we have the server, and then we have the database. In the app I'm going to show you in a second here, it's going to be a messaging app. And the way the messaging app works is when a client types a message that gets sent to the server with the message. And then the server propagates that event to all clients. So if multiple clients are connected to one chat room, then that message gets sent from one client to the server, and that server distributes it to all of the connected clients to this WebSockets connection that we are going to open. And also, the server is going to put the message into the database. So if a new user, let's say client 4, went ahead and connected to a server, then they would let the server know, hey, I'm here, I connected. Then the server gets the message from the database and serves that as the initial messages back to the client. So the client is up to speed on what happened previously in the chat room, and then the client is connected to the WebSocket server, and the same thing happens every time a message is sent to the server from a client. It gets distributed to all the clients. And just to demonstrate you that this works really well, I deployed another web app to Vercel, and this is just a simple drawing app. So let me show you what it does. If I draw here, you can see in real time the other screen is updated. This is super easy to deploy. That's what was important for me. That's what I want to show you. So you have a very easy time getting started with real-time communication in your app. We can just draw, and in real time it's updated. This scales really well and can handle a lot of connections. And now let's take a look at the example app I just demonstrated to you in the drawing app, the chat room. And here we can either join a room if we have the ID, or we can create a room. Let's click on create room. It's going to create a new room for us. And let's copy this into a new tab and open that side by side. And then for each chat room instance or each connected client, we can say a message. Hi, how are you? We can click send. And then that message is going to be put into a database and propagated to everyone that is connected to the chat room. I'm good. How are you? Click send, and that is obviously saved. So when we reload the page, it is being pulled from the database as the initial messages and persisted that way. So we can go into the main page.tsx. This is what you see when you first join the application. All right, so in here we have a very simple button that says create room that calls a create room function. And if we take a look at what this function does, it awaits a fetch request to one of our API routes, that is /API/room/create. Then it gets the room ID from the room that was just created and pushes that into the URL bar. That is all this component does. And if we take a look at this API route right here, you can go into API/rooms/create. And this is a super simple API route. We are connecting to our database. In my case, that's a Prisma database, creating a new chat room instance with no data because we don't need any data. If I show you what exactly we are creating here in our database, that is the model for the chat room, just has an ID, a created and updated at, and a message array. So we store the messages that are sent in each room according to that certain room. So in this API route, we are just creating that room, sending it back to the main page that we can see right here. And then for the join room functionality, it's even simpler. We can just push the room ID that the user entered right here into the join room. If we do that, click join room, then we are right in the room and can see all the messages that were sent. Great, so we got that covered. And now let's take a look at the main dynamic route inside of the rooms. So /room/ID, and take a look at what happens here. So for each room in Next.js 13, the way we get access to the ID, right? So the /room/ and then that's the ID of the room. The way we get access to that is by destructuring the room ID from the params that get passed by Next.js to our dynamic page. So because we put this in brackets in the URL right here, in brackets the room ID, that's how we can declare a dynamic route in Next.js 13 and also in Next.js 12. It was the same way, and we get access to that up here in the room ID. And then to see which messages were sent previously in the room, we can just query our database, find all the messages where the chat room ID is equal to this room ID that we're in right now. And this will work because if we take a look at the database models once again, we can see all the messages are saved according to the chat room ID, which makes it super simple to query. And then we just have a text, a created and updated ad, and obviously we want an ID for every message. Then we serialize those, meaning we are pulling away the created and updated ad because those are not serializable values because they're a date time and we can't pass them to the components. And then inside of this page, we are rendering two components, one being the messages we can see up here, and then the second component being the message field where we can type and send a new message. And the reason I put them in separate components, the messages and the message field, is so that the main page.tsx stays a server component. In Next.js 13, if you didn't know, pages by default are server components. That means all the JavaScript that we import here are not shipped to the client and also allows us to await the database without calling an API route. Normally, we would have to call an API route, but in server components, we can interact with the database directly, which is super convenient if at the start of the rendering cycle you want to get some data to display. In our case, that's going to be the previous messages. They are both super simple components that you can understand very quickly. First one being the messages component. In here we pass the initial messages. Remember, that's what we queried from the database in the original page, each containing a text and an ID, and that is an array. And then also the room ID that we are currently in, that's the ID in the URL bar, the room ID. Now comes the interesting part, the real-time functionality. We do that with a pusher client. If you don't know, pusher, by the way, this is not sponsored. I just found this to be a super convenient solution, especially for serverless apps. If you have a Node.js server, you can use alternatives like Socket.io, right? But then you have to worry about managing that infrastructure yourself. And with Pusher, there's a thing called channels that allow us to implement real-time functionality using Pusher servers that enable scaling for us. So that's super convenient. That's why we are using the Pusher client. If you're wondering where that comes from, obviously, these are my credentials. I'm going to remove them or change them after the video. But the Pusher client, you can read it in the Pusher documentation. You initialize that. If you want, you can authorize the users that come into your app. And then you can use that Pusher client to make a WebSockets connection. If we take a look at that WebSockets connection in the browser, we can go to the network tab and then reload this page, go to WS in the network tab for WebSockets. And then we can see this connection that is open right here. We can see there are 3 events. And if I type a new message in here, hello world, click send, you can see a new WebSockets event is being created with the channel that we are currently in. We've got the channel, the data, and then the event of incoming message. That's what I called this event. And this makes it super simple to implement a full duplex connection that goes both ways, sending information to the server and getting information from the server. So whenever we render this component, we are subscribing to all changes that happen in this certain room. And then whenever a message, an incoming message event is fired, I'm going to show you how in a second, how we fire that. This function receives a text that is typed inside of the message and then sets that as state. That is how we display new messages right here. So these both are the initial messages, and then this one is set as state as the incoming message. And then to clean up after ourselves, whenever we leave this component, when it gets unmounted, we are unsubscribing from this room ID. In here, you can see we are looping over the initial and then the incoming messages, and that's how we display them to the user. Okay, now let's take a look at, because you saw what happens when we get an incoming message event, how do we make an incoming message event, right? When I type here, that should be propagated to all the connected clients. And the question is, Josh, How do we do that? And the answer is we do that in this component right here, and it is super straightforward. So when we type the message, we are saving that as the input up here. We don't even need to save that in state. We can literally just put it as a let input and then an empty string. And whenever we change the input, we are setting that value to whatever we typed in the field. And when we click the button saying send, then we are calling the send message function with the input, making a post request to our /API/message with a text and the room ID. And that is what's causing the incoming message event to be fired for this component up here, for the messages event. So if we take a look at the API/message, what this looks like, we get the values from the request.json. By the way, if you're not familiar, this is the new Next.js 13.2 syntax for the API routes, where we just declare the methods that we want, like so, with an async function of post, put, patch, delete, get, whatever. That's just the new syntax. And then we are saying pusher server.trigger, then the room ID, which is important because everyone that wants to receive these messages should be connected to this room. So we only want to inform users that are currently connected to this room. This is the event message that I defined myself that we are listening to on the front end. Remember, it's called incoming message. And then in the messages, we are listening to that exact same event, the incoming message. And then this is all that is needed to forward the event to all clients, right? We could totally leave this away. However, in that case, that message wouldn't be persisted. It would work while people are chatting, but if you reload the page, it wouldn't be persisted in the database. That is why we're also putting this message into the database and then just returning a success true that we don't really need on the front end anyways. And if we take a look at the pusher server, in case you were wondering, both come from separate packages, the server one from pusher and then the pusher client coming from pusher-js. So they're separate packages, and we use the pusher server to send messages on the server or to trigger events, and the pusher client obviously on the client. That's how they handle the infrastructure. And then after we are done in the route, that event got forwarded to everyone who is listening on the same room, meaning this function right here will get called whenever this event is fired and set the incoming messages as the state. And that's all the magic there is to this room functionality. So when we copy the ID, go back to the main homepage and then enter it right here, click join room. It just puts whatever we typed in here into the URL without checking if that's valid or not, because this is a very simple, easy boilerplate that should be very easy to understand. And then we are sent to the room with all of these messages persisted. And one last time, let's take a look at the network tab at the web sockets, and then something very interesting will happen. So if we go to localhost again, join the same room, we can see on this tab, and if we put this side by side, I think that's going to be a bit easier. If we send a message right here, and also we want to listen to that in the same network tab on this side. So let's open this up, reload the page so we can get the WebSockets, and then we will see the live message coming in and being sent on this side. So this is the sending client. Hello, we can type hello, click send. And if we take a look at the WebSockets, it is a red arrow, meaning we downloaded one event, and also we downloaded one event right here because we're sending it to the server, right? We're not technically uploading it, but we're sending it as a post request to the server. Then all the clients that are subscribed are receiving that exact same message. That is why all the messages are the exact same for all connected clients, and the database persistence layer works just as expected. Great. That is how I like to implement real-time features. I think this is a super cool method that also scales really well. As you saw with the drawing, you can also have it for a lot of different use cases that require even more real-time than a chat app. Technically, you could also do polling in chat app, checking like every 5 seconds if there's a new message. That doesn't really work with the drawing application. That has to be more real-time, and Pusher can handle that just fine. Again, this is unsponsored. They're not paying me to say that. It's just genuinely a service that I found very helpful in creating real-time connections. That's all I want to share with you. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and built something cool with it. And then I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one and bye-bye.